Hi everyone, this is Adam here for another community awareness podcast, part of our season of podcasts that we're doing just to help young people find out about what's going on in our communities. I'm here with Ellie from B.D.C.P.S. Hi Ellie.
Hello.
Probably a good place to start would be B.D.C.P.S. You know, what does it stand for? It is sort of a bit of a mouthful, but it flows nicely as well. I find, there's 5 letters there, but they sort of go B.D.C.P.S. It's got rather than any kind of clunky W's or anything like that in there. So, so perhaps you could tell us a bit about the organisation to start with. I'm curious about its founding as well, if you want to add a bit about that, about how it started and why. And then a bit about your role would be good as well. Thanks, Ellie.
So I'm Ellie, and BDCPS actually stands for Bedford and District Cerebral Palsy Society. So it obviously is a bit of a mouthful. That's why we've shortened it to BDCPS, and that's kind of how everybody knows us. But we do kind of do what we say as the charity name. It is we provide services for young people up to, well, we actually go over 25 now, but there's different age categories throughout, and there's different clubs and play schemes according to what age people are, and it's also for families as well. So we do lots of parent carer stuff and stuff for siblings as well, because often siblings kind of do get forgotten. Having a sibling with a disability can be quite challenging for them as well. So we're kind of a whole family kind of group. We were established in 1954, so way before I was born, a long time ago, way before any of you were born. And it started quite small. There was obviously a need back then in the community for people with disabilities to kind of have that acceptance within community and be somewhere for them to go. And so it did start off as a very small society. It's changed name a little bit since then. Because obviously politically correct words are now kind of in place, and then we don't use some of the terms anymore, so it's adapted slightly. I can't remember the rest of your question, sorry.
Just about the organisation, which you've covered nicely, but I did want to just jump in for those that might not know exactly what cerebral palsy is. Could you explain a bit about that?
Sure. So cerebral palsy, it's a physical disability. It can be really mild. So some people only get it in one hand, maybe in one leg. It can be like hardly even obvious. Some people have it a little bit more complex. So they can be in wheelchairs, and it can affect all limbs and the whole body. With cerebral palsy comes other conditions as well, and other limitations. So things like feeding, communication, personal care, that sort of stuff is impacted by cerebral palsy as well. And lots of our young people also have epilepsy. A high percentage of people with cerebral palsy have epilepsy as well. And we are finding as an organisation that we're actually we don't just have cerebral palsy, we have many other disabilities, many other physical disabilities, and the young people and children that are coming through are getting more and more complex. So the health needs and the medical needs are going up quite a lot as well. So we have to have trained staff, and we have to have training every year for all these specific needs. There's things like gastro feeding, that's where children who can't eat with their mouths, they can't chew because of muscle problems within the throat and things, and swallowing, it's a hazard for choking, and they could obviously asphyxiate. So a gastro tube goes into their tummy, and they have a feeding tube, so that it kind of gets put through that. So we have training on that. We have children who have got tracheostomies in their throat to help with breathing. And all sorts of other things. So there's lots of medical things, and we have to, so our training is quite in depth.
And I wondered if cerebral palsy was a broad term for several different things as well, like maybe there's categories or subdivisions or that.
There is subdivisions. They are quite complicated words. So there's like quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which is all 4 limbs. There's spastic cerebral palsy. And there's a couple of others, but I really can't say the names. I'm not going but there's 4 main types, but you can have a little look at what they are, but they're hard to say. So
yeah, and with if you could go into a bit more detail about the specifics of the support that you provide. I'm well aware of your programs, but you can say a bit about that and also any of the other stuff that you do too.
Yeah, so all our young people are pretty much one-to-one, so we have to have staff in one-to-one with them. For the family, for the parents particularly, their jobs with it is like another job having a child with a disability, and it's 24/7, and they need that time, they need that respite, they need just a couple of hours to go and do their shopping, in a supermarket and things like that makes such a difference. So our clubs and things, so we have different clubs for different age ranges once a month, and it just gives the young people a chance to socialise with their friends, because like you and me can just go anywhere with our mates, go swimming, catch up, bowling, anything like that, have sleepovers, the sort of thing you would have done as a child and a teenager. They can't do that. They can't just do it like we could, like a regular person could do. That because of their medical needs and their physical needs, it's a lot tougher. So they want the social life still, so we're there, they see their friends, but it's in a supported and caring environment, where they are looked after and their care needs are met at the same time. And yeah, so it's a break for the family, but it's also lovely for the young people to actually play and have fun and enjoy time with their friends.
Mm-hmm. I have very little experience professionally with disabilities, and that changed a little bit when I worked for Youth Action, which I know you know me from. And I worked with a young guy with cerebral palsy. The thing that struck me the most, I think, was, and you'll have to forgive my ignorance with this, was how sharp he was. Like, he was actually a very clever guy, just he struggled with articulating it and letting you see his perspective of conversation. There was a touch of frustration when he couldn't get the words out. But we found a sort of middle ground where because of my ignorance, I kind of said to him, look, I'm probably going to ask you to say things again a few times, and he's like, oh, don't worry about it, kind of thing. It's just obviously something he's used to. But in the spirit of sort of, again, forgive me, not really knowing how to be with people with disabilities, because I'd just not had any exposure in my life. It was interesting, but it was also quite enlightening about the lives that they lead and the judgments that they might sort of receive as well. And I imagine you come across quite a lot of that in the work that you do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have well, basically we rely heavily on volunteers to run our services and our play schemes, which obviously at the moment it's a little bit different, and we have to have the staff in place, but they come in, a lot of the volunteers and staff we have not having any experience of disability at all and kind of being a little bit unsure, and it completely opens their eyes to new perspectives on life, and they end up coming back year on year. I guarantee pretty much every volunteer we have who thinks they're not even going to like it, is back again, or they'll commit to one day in the summer holidays, a week or something like that, and then they want to come back and they say, can I do more, and they just get so much enjoyment out of it. But it is also for them opening their eyes to the challenges. It's like you suddenly realise when you're walking about town and going into shops and things, this store is so narrow, would we get a wheelchair through this? And toileting is a particular issue. It's like we have to, wherever we go, we have to make sure there's a change in place, and there aren't very many around. Bedford's very good, actually. There's 3 changing places in Bedford. A changing place is more of an adapted place for toileting. So whereas a disabled toilet is just a bigger space, pretty much, with a bar usually by the toilet, we wouldn't consider that very accessible. So some of our young people need personal care. They need what's called hoisting, so they get lifted out of their chair onto a changing bed, and those facilities aren't widely available. So it does definitely open people's eyes about the challenges in the community, about having a disability, and yeah, definitely makes people more empathic. What's the word?
I'm never quite sure, I'll be honest. They both sound all right to me.
Empathic, I think. So yeah.
I wondered, leading into sort of social action, I wondered if that could be a potential project for young people to be able to assess you said there's shortcomings with the support that's available, and I wondered if part of that could be young people going around and assessing what the suitability is, obviously with your guidance about what's appropriate. And other social action projects, I wondered if you've got any ideas about that. I mean, I know you've got your programs that happen over the summer, which do coincide with the NCS itself as well. Normally, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic at the moment, but is there anything that young people can still get involved in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, we've always got things like, we always need fundraising, and it's always good to have some fresh ideas and fresh young people doing some fundraising. And when they know, sort of had that experience of what they're fundraising for, it makes them a little bit more, involved and wanting to make that difference. So we have campaigns throughout the year. So in May, we have our Wear It Blue Day, and that's just people wear it blue, pay £1. So we usually get schools and colleges and things, people like that, companies, to get involved with that. And then so June is our cream tea month normally. So we would normally ask people to host a small cream tea, as big or small as they like, and then people donate, pay a couple of quid for cake and a cup of tea, and then that money comes to us. Obviously, it's just been a bit more challenging with fundraising this year because of coronavirus. There have been a few more challenges, so we've had to adapt. So we're doing a lot more virtual stuff. We're doing fortnightly quizzes and things like that. So fundraising and fresh ideas and things like that would be definitely gratefully received.
There's a slight hesitation with that, because I know that the emphasis on the NCS program is like actual social action, like the kind of stuff that you see, hear, experience, that sort of thing. They do steer somewhat away from fundraising. However, with a sort of bit, the wiggle room around that could be generating money to buy something for your organisation. Is there any scope there? Is there any things that your organisation needs, rather than actual money, but things?
Yeah, there's always things that we need. Adaptable bikes and things like that are always really lovely to have. I'd have to have a little look at a kind of a list of some bits and bobs that's on our wish list. If that's something I can get back to you on, that would be great.
And I was wondering about things like, again, not directly fundraising themselves, but promoting your fundraising activities could be another way around, of encouraging other people to get involved and sharing, your campaigns, the green teas or the blue, that kind of thing. Could be something there. I'm always interested in the sort of digital focus as well, and if there's any scope for sort of capturing a day in the life of, or videos that are done on service users, if safeguard permitting, of course. About things like that. I wondered about things like supporting your summer programs as well. You take volunteers, but is there any sort of lower age range for volunteers?
We take volunteers from 13. So obviously they're never left on their own. They're always supported. We normally pair people up with a more experienced member of staff or volunteer, depending on the needs of the young person, and then they kind of learn from each other, which is quite nice. So no one's ever thrown in at the deep end. In terms of like online stuff and website stuff, definitely, and videos. Always need help with things like that, definitely, little promotional videos, and absolutely, that would work.
We were talking about podcasts before we started recording as well, and I just wondered if there's any scope there as well. I mean, if you've got the kit, and other people are obviously going to use ours, but being able to record an episode, maybe with cerebral palsy as the focus, disabilities or something like that, and then being able to put that out on wherever you're hosting. Maybe something like that too.
Yeah, that would be really, really good. Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll start wrapping up now. If any young people want to get in contact with you, then obviously we've got your contact details that are part of the blurb underneath the video. People need to ask for Ellie, but obviously there's a broader office number there as well that they can call. Thank you for that. I'm even more educated. I mean, I know I sort of worked within the same building as you for quite a while. we found out about the nuances of what you guys do, other than the fact that you just seem to work very hard all the time. So any support, I think, would be really welcome, and I hope that our young people choose to get involved, be it this year or next year. You know, my hope is that things will be back to normal next year. We'll be able to invite you to the community awareness days, but also use the videos that we've recorded. To think that they're, you know, they'll just be there to be viewed as well, if you can't make it. But thank you very much for that, Ellie. I hope to see you at a future event in person. But for now, take care, be safe.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ellie.